Episode 4, titled What If Iron Man Crashed into the Grandmaster, is a unique beast. As always, the Watcher, voiced by Jeffrey Wright, starts things by jogging our memory about the Guardians of the Multiverse. Remember them? No sweat, I'll help. So in the 9th episode of Season 1, titled What If the Watcher Broke His Oath, the Watcher dubs our heroes Guardians of the Multiverse. And another scoop, the Guardians also included Gamora, who had killed Thanos. The Guardians team up to take down Ultron after he took possession of all the Infinity Stones. Now, Episode 4 of the 2nd season is all about Gamora and her rise to the top, becoming one of these Guardians. But as the Watcher explains, her story starts off in the middle of someone else's story, Tony Stark's. So we're getting a blend of old and new tales all mashed up in this episode. Now that we know the setup, let's explore. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. What if Iron Man crashed into the Grandmaster? So, Tony Stark, our Iron Man, manages to chuck the nuke through the wormhole just in time to save New York. But the portal slams shut behind him. Yep, very unlike the first Avengers movie. No triumphant return, no shawarma party with the Avengers. Instead, Tony zips through what seems like another wormhole and bam, crash lands right into the Grandmaster's feet on Sakaar. As would be expected, Tony first thinks he is dead. This place doesn't look like heaven, and the junk planet definitely doesn't look like heaven. The Grandmaster, played by Mr. Jeff Goldblum, is over the moon to see Tony, calling him names like Mr. Metal Mojo Man, Tin Man, and whatnot for taking down the Chitauri. Time's funky on Sakaar. What felt like seconds for Tony was days for them. It seems this was the effect of passing through the wormhole. Tony's itching to get back to Earth, knowing they've won and Pepper's safe, but the Grandmaster's got other plans. Well, of course he does. He's throwing a party for his 21st birthday. Yep, his 21st, and Tony's the guest of honor. No ifs or buts, but Topaz making sure he doesn't bail. The party itself is a wild ride, quite literally. It is basically a wild race in the arena from Thor Ragnarok, but it has now been turned into a racetrack. And as much as the previous episode was a serious nod to the OG Die Hard, this one feels like a mashup between movies like Transformers, Death Race, and a bit of Mad Max. Valkyrie owns the race, but then her car flips and she's bombarded with tin cans, and get this, chinchillas. Yeah, chinchillas are the Grandmaster's order, of course. Then the Grandmaster unleashes his champion, a mammoth elephant-like monster, on the racers, which includes Korg. Tony can't just watch, he suits up and dives into the fray. He tries to zap the beast with his repulsors, but they're on the fritz. Despite that, boom, the creature explodes. Gamora shows up and she's gunning for Tony Stark. Why? Revenge, plain and simple. Tony and Gamora end up in a slammer together in a room with just one bed. Apparently the Grandmaster thought the two of them had a connection, but don't get any weird ideas. It's not going all romance novel on us. First off, Korg's also in the room cramping any potential style, and second, Gamora's still on her mission to kill Tony. Tony, getting a bit fed up, demands the 411 from Gamora. She tells him that she's Thanos' daughter. However, he initially does not understand who exactly Thanos is, but he doesn't want to share the same room with a possible assassin, so he hightails it out of there. He busts the door open and escapes along with Korg, but they leave Gamora locked in. Now, Tony's trying to sneak away from the down low, but Korg, well, Mr. Mount Rushmore is not great with his subtlety. Their bickering gives Gamora just enough time to catch up. She blows up their escape ride and the wall behind it. This ruckus gets the Grandmaster's attention, and he puts out an APB on Tony. Tony's still in the dark about why Thanos has it out for him, until Gamora connects the dots. The Chitauri attack was Thanos' doing. Tony's mind is blown. He's missing some key intel that the rest of the Avengers got in their mid-credit scene. Can't blame him for that now, can we? By now, this one feels like it's Thor Ragnarok all over again, but with Tony and Gamora in the fray instead of Thor and Hulk. Tony's feeling all sorts of frustrated and ends up venting big time at Gamora. It's a bit of a low blow, really, since he's kinda throwing her own rough pass right back at her. Then Tony catches wind of the Grandmaster's broadcast and realizes this guy's bad news. You see, Grandmaster did not care about the people, creatures, and monsters of Sakaar. All he cared about was spending money on death races. So Tony decides to stick it to the Grandmaster, partly just to get under Gamora's skin and also to gear up for a final battle with Thanos. Tony believed in leaving the place better better than he found it. And that's what he's gonna do on Sakaar. Meanwhile, Gamora's caught again by Topaz, but she's not down for the count. Tony and Korg are on the move and looking for a driver for their wild plan. They bump into Valkyrie at a bar. Tony plays up to her love for thrills and spills, and even though she's skeptical, they end up teaming up. Tony whips up a new Iron Man suit and hacks into the Grandmaster's hologram system. He challenges the Grandmaster to a race with all of Sakaar listening and watching. He's throwing down the gauntlet. In a manner of speaking, the race would be for control of the planet. Topaz is like, why bother? You already have the planet's control. But the Grandmaster, not the sharpest tool in the shed, takes the bait. The race begins in the arena, with Valkyrie and Gamora joining the fray. Amidst the chaos, Tony starts probing Gamora about why she's following Thanos' orders. He points out that she's more than just Thanos' daughter and challenges her to break free and make her own choices. The man even speaks about how his own father had a major influence on him, but he decided to be who he wanted to be without letting anything affect him. So Gamora steps up and helps Tony out when he is about to be crushed by two gigantic monsters. Now don't get your hopes high, they're not suddenly BFFs. The race boils down to just Tony and the Grandmaster, and Tony just scrapes through with a win. How? Well, Tony pulls up a transformer with his suit. But the Grandmaster, being the sly dog he is, tries to pull one last trick by calling the race a tie and declaring himself the winner. Since during a tie, the decision comes down to him. That is until he has an oops moment with Topaz's melting stick, which sidelines him for good. He's not dead though, just melted. The crowd goes wild and ends up crowning Valkyrie as their king. Tony's got a chance to stick around and help Valkyrie rule, but he's got Pepper on his mind and wants to head back home. However, Gamora sneaks up and whisks him off to meet Thanos. It looks like a betrayal at first, but hold up, it's actually a setup. Tony and Gamora team up and uses Topaz's melting stick to take down the Mad Titan Thanos. Marvelous verdict. The one big hiccup that many of us had with this one was that the episode totally undermined the sacrifice that Tony made at the end of Endgame. I mean, come on, man. I know the whole point is to ask the big what if, but that moment that people cried their eyes out in theaters. Furthermore, the watcher had us thinking this was going to be a big Gamora-centric episode about her becoming a guardian of the multiverse and all, but honestly, that's stretching it out a bit. Sure, Gamora makes some big moves and steps out of Thanos' shadow, but the real juicy bits of her transformation, they happen off-screen. We're mostly riding shotgun with Tony here. When exactly did Gamora change into Miss Goody Goodlittle? I mean, Endgame's Gamora went through an entire mental storm when she decided to go against Dear Daddy. And this episode, according to the Watcher, was going to be all about her. But it really wasn't. Their big strategy session for taking down Thanos probably happened behind the scenes, and we missed out. So, while this episode is definitely cool to watch, it's more Tony's story than Gamora's, so no matter what the Watcher says. To be honest, this season is not as great as the first one, but that doesn't mean that the stories aren't fun. How about you guys? What do you guys think of this episode? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, if you liked this video, remember to hit that like button and share this video with everyone you know. I'll see you on the next one.